Welcome to an introduction to Python, the basics. So in this video, you'll be able to learn what Python is, how to install it, and after you've installed Python, you'll be able to learn the different data types that are used in Python and how variables are declared to save different types of data. And last, you will be able to learn how to use math and put arithmetic operations into Python. So first, what is Python? According to python.org, their official website, Python is a programming language that lets you work quickly and integrate systems more effectively. So basically, Python's creator was a Java user. If you don't know what Java is basically another programming language that is very frequently used by programmers and is learned in computer science majors in undergrad university students. So the creator actually was very annoyed by how how much extra steps you need to do in order to do a simple task in Java and how bad the readability of the code in Java is. So the creator made a code that is similar, that is also object-oriented, but he improved the code readability, taking out all the semicolons and simplifying a lot of steps. So basically Python is just Java, but simpler, quicker, and less annoying. So, which means it is actually very perfect for coding beginners. Myself, I actually learned my first code to learn was Python, and it was very easy for me to understand how a program worked since it is very simplified and it's really easy. It's really easily readable, I guess. Yes. So here, how to install Python. I won't go into very details about installing Python, but basically you need to go to python.org/downloads to download the packages that are for your operating system. And then the next part is to set it up in your computer console. This part is more complicated, and websites explain this better than I will. So there will be links in the description for you to see and look at for different operating systems. So before you continue to the next part, if you haven't have the console downloaded already, please pause the video and get that done. If you are, we will continue to the next part. Okay, so first topic, data types. The four most frequently used data types for Python are these. So the first one is int. So as you can see from the examples, it's basically whole numbers without decimals, either negative, positive, zero, anything that is a whole number would be an integer. And that would be the first type, int. The second type would be float. They are decimals, anything. So 0.1, 1.0, 99.01. As long as there's a point, it's a float. So if you've coded in Java, a float would be equivalent to double, would be similar to double. Yeah. The next one would be string, str, string. It's basically any text between quotation marks. It could be space, it could be a word, it could be numbers, it could be symbols. As long as it's between quotation marks, no matter if it's double quotation or single quotation, it's a string. And then the next thing is a Boolean. A Boolean is either true or false, nothing else, true or false, with capital letters, since Python is case sensitive. a Boolean is basically for programmers to know, to check, I guess, conditions when coding. So that would be something to talk about in further, in future videos. However, just know that Boolean is used to show condition. So in order to know which type and a value is or a variable is, there's a method for it. So it's type with a parenthesis. Methods normally have parentheses behind it. If you put a value between the parentheses inside the parameter part of the method, it would output the type of the value. So if you look to the right, you can see at the very top, if you look for the type of 10, it would give you class int. So you'll know that 10 is integer. The next one would be a quotation mark string, then it would be a string. The next one is 1.01, it's a float, and then true is Boolean. So it's very easy to use, just put it into console. Second topic, variable declaration. So in Python, you do not need to specify what type of variable it is. In Java, you do. For example, in the left, you see that Java, you need an int to show that x is an integer. But Python does not need that. Python can have, in Python, variables can hold different types of data. What do I mean by that? I'll show you. So in the left, you can see that x is already specified as an integer. So you cannot assign a string value, the quotation marks is a string, right? A string value into x. That would output an error to you. But in Python, if x was originally an integer, it can still be changed into a string. So that's actually something beginners should know and take into account, because in Python, variables are more malleable. Things are more malleable. It could be a good thing and a bad thing, but in Python, for it to be easier to use, things are more malleable and more free. Yeah. So this is an example in console. You can see in the first part, x was originally 10. And if you output x, it's 10. And the type of x would be int. But if you change x equals string with quotation marks, then x would output string, and then the type of x would also be string. So this just shows how x could be both integer and string. You can also put float, but yeah, that's it. So here's a practice. Please pause the video and find what data type each input outputs and check. Okay, so here are the answers. The first one, 10 is a whole number, right? It's definitely an integer. Second one, 1.01. There's a point there. Even though it's 1, but there's a point, so it's a float. It's a decimal number. The third one is false. False with a capital letter is a Boolean, right? So, yay. Okay. The fourth one with quotation marks should be a string. The fifth one is also a string. The sixth one, it's a single quotation mark. But as I said, both double quotation marks and single quotation marks would work as a string. So the last three are all strings. Okay. Third topic, math operations. So the most basic 5 arithmetic operations in Python are addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and modulus. I call it module, but basically addition, self-explanatory, subtraction, yeah, multiplication, division, okay. Modulus is basically the remainder. So for example, let's say 3 divided by 2. 3 divided by 2 would be 1 point something something, right? But if you want to get the whole number, it will be 1, and then it'll remainder 1, right? Yeah. So basically, it will if you module something, so 3 module 2 would be 1. Okay, I'll show you. Here's an example. If A is 7 and B is 3, A plus B would be 10. That's right. 10 is an integer, right? A minus B would be 4. 7 minus 3, yeah, 4. A times B would be 21, true. A divided by B, 7 divided by 3 would be 2.33333. Yes, that would be a float, not an integer. They're different, okay? So division always outputs an integer. Division always outputs a float, okay? And then A module B would be the remainder 1, right? Because 3 times 2, B is 3, right? 3 times 2 would be 6. 7 minus 6 would be 1. So that's the remainder. Yeah, good. Okay. But how about if we change A and B into floats? Then these numbers would also be floats too. So if one of the numbers in an expression is a float, then the answer would also be influenced by the float value. So there'll be 10.0, 4.0, 21.0, and the division doesn't change, and it will be 1.0. Yeah, basically. So there's also order of operations. It's basically the same as math, the PEDMAS thing, but basically just looking at these 5, the left 3 would be done first from left to right, and then the addition and subtraction would be done after the 3. So yeah, with these in mind, another practice. Please pause the video and see what the solve the output out. Okay, so the answer is 3.5 and negative 9.0. Let's do this together. So A is 2 module 5. What is that? That would be 2, right? Because 2 divided by 5 without counting the remainders would be 0, right? Then it will remainder 2. So A would be 2. A is 2, right? B equals to 2 divided by 4, which is 0.5, right? Okay, so A is 2 plus 0.5 times 2 plus 7 divided by 2 minus 3. So let's do the left-hand side first. B times 2. 0.5 times 2 would be 1, right? Okay, so that part is 1. And then 7 divided by A, 7 divided by 2 would be, how much is that? Oh, 3.5, right? Okay, so 2 plus 1 would be 3. And 3 plus 3.5 would be 6.5. 6.5 minus 3 would be 3.5. So yeah, that would be your answer. The second one is 100 divided by 10 minus 4 module 3 minus 2 times 5 minus 8. So first you start with the left ones, right? So the first one you see is division. So 100 divided by 10 would be what? 10. 4 module 3 would be 1, and 2 times 5 would be 10. So 10 minus 1 would be 9. 9 minus 10 would be -1. And -1 minus 8 would be -9. It's a float because there's a division at the front. 10 divided by 100 divided by 10 at the very front would give you 1.0. So after that, everything would be a float. So negative 9.0 is the answer. So that's it for today's video. In this video, you've learned hopefully all 4 of these topics clearly. I'll see you in the next video, and yeah, bye.